I'll make that. That's a very awkward way to start everything, but since it's already recording, everybody welcome to the show here at halfguarded.com. I'm Mike Coughlin, and we have on the line one of the funniest human beings you'll hear on a podcast today, ESTHER Ku, who goes by Ku because Esther's a weird biblical name, and her parents gave it to her, and, we should just call her Ku instead. Host of the world-famous Ku and the Gang podcast. I don't know. I hate doing introductions of people. You read the little blurb before you click on a podcast. Like, it has all the information where I'm like, this is why you should listen, and then you listen. So you're all listening now. So, Ku, how are you doing today?
Wow. Well, you're good at doing introductions. That was a mighty great intro, Mike Coughlin.
Well,
I'm good. How are you?
Hot and sweaty. It's steaming in here.
Yeah, it is August.
Yeah, and it's Chicago, so, we just go straight to pure fucking awful humidity here. Although you're down in Miami or something, right? So I can't really complain too much.
I'm used to it. We got the Zika over here. I'm avoiding that. I'm putting bug spray on when I go outside. Not that I'm pregnant, but,
Well,
you just never know. You could get knocked up. You could get knocked up at any time nowadays. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, plus you got alligators. I don't know if they impregnate.
Well, I'm too big for alligators. I'm too big for an alligator to eat me. But if I had a Zika baby, I would want an alligator to eat it.
Have you seen an alligator?
No, I haven't seen an alligator. You know what? We see lizards more than we do alligators. Like, I feel like I live in Jurassic Park because these lizards, they crawl up and down everything, and you just kind of get used to it.
I would be so disappointed if I moved to Florida and didn't see an alligator, just because I feel like they're everywhere.
Well, I mean, they're more in, the swampy area. They're not going to be they're not going to be strolling down the street in your neighborhood.
I don't know. I mean, all I know is that Florida has their reputation, and I thought that it officially peaked to the point where the state should maybe just be gotten rid of when an alligator ate a baby at Disney World. I thought, that's it, Florida, you've gone too far. You can't go to Disney World without a baby getting eaten by an alligator. You don't even need a punchline for that. That just is what it is.
Yeah, it is really sad. I mean, that could have been anybody's baby getting eaten by an alligator. These kids nowadays, it's hard to keep track of your kids, man.
Unless it was a Zika baby, then we'd all be like, fucking A, it kind of worked all right out, so it's fine.
Yeah, then we'd be like, I might abort mission right now. And nobody's going to get mad at you except for Marco Rubio.
Yeah. Oh, it's too bad that they couldn't have fed Terry Schiavo to the alligator. That would have, brought everybody together.
Aww.
I know, that's horrible. In keeping with tradition, you like to talk about poop, and so I thought I'd ask how have your poops been today?
Today, I don't think I've pooped today. It's been, you know what it is? I've been eating really poorly these past couple of weeks. So I think when you eat poorly, you only poo, once a week or twice a week. I feel like the more, this is just my personal first-hand experience, my bullshit, reasoning, but I feel like the more you poop, the healthier you are. Up to, there's a poop ceiling, up to maybe 3-4 times a day. But I have been eating a lot of fast food recently. I just ate a Jimmy John's sandwich, so I pooped yesterday. I haven't pooped today yet.
That's too bad. I was going to tell you because I know you are such a poop aficionado. If you know about the way to have the best fulfilling poop in the world, what is it for you at least?
For me, I guess I try to eat like a part-time vegan, and that helps to get the poop out. Because with me eating all this fast food recently, I think that hardens your poo, whereas vegans have softer poo and more frequent. So I'm not a full-time vegan, but being part-time certainly does help the frequency of my bowel movements.
Well, what I was going to say is, because as a man that enjoys sitting on the throne, as I think most men do, or at least we're more open about it than women are, I've discovered that the way for the most pleasurable poop is to eat a lot of popcorn, because that way when the kernels come out, you kind of get like somebody like scratching the inside of you a little bit, and it's a little thrill for the first thing in the morning.
Oh, I haven't experienced those scratches. I'm not a big popcorn eater. You know who eats a lot of popcorn is Christina Hutchinson of the Guys We Fuck podcast. She loves popcorn. But, what do I eat? I eat a lot of mango smoothies. I eat a lot of guacamole. I make guacamole like once a week. So, I don't know. I guess if you eat mushy things, your poo comes out frequently and sort of mushy.
Well, there's no good way to segue away from that, so we'll just make it really awkward. Were your parents Moonies?
You know what? No, they weren't Moonies. Like, Moonies is like the name brand Coke that people know of, or the Jim Jones or whatever. My parents were more like, they didn't have a name brand Coke. I guess it just wasn't big enough to have such a, magnificent name like the Moonies. They were similar to the Moonies, though. They were in a Christian evangelical religious organization. It was called UBF, University Bible Fellowship, which we always, made up the acronym to say you be fit or you be fat, because everybody got fat, because the way to love bomb was to feed people, and every Sunday they would have food. I would make brownies and cookies, and it's just, you just come for the junk food, and you stay for God. I don't know.
Oh, that's kind of like what they do in Africa, where they go over there and they're like, hey, kids, do you want to have some water? Here's some water. By the way, let's read a book about Jesus, or else you don't get any more water.
Right, I know, and they would prey on poor kids from broken homes, or runaway kids, or kids with low self-esteem, and they would target these kids because they knew that they needed companionship, that they really craved, having friends. Like, I remember this one girl, she was, she wasn't in full-on Down syndrome, but she definitely suffered from some learning disability, and she loved Reba McEntire. And this girl, Heather, she would just, not shut up about Reba McEntire. And it was really funny, because she's just like, I love female Reba McEntire. I worship Reba McEntire. And then her Bible teacher would correct her. And she would say, you don't love Reba McEntire, you love Jesus. And then she would just repeat it. Oh. I used to love Reba McEntire, but now I love Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior.
Oh my gosh, they preyed on a retarded girl. That's the most horrible thing I've ever heard. Holy shit.
Yeah, they really preyed on a lot of lonely people, and so it was really such a big win whenever, a popular person or a jock came to church. It was like, wow, look, we have a good-looking athlete who joined our church and who fell for our manipulative tactics.
Oh yeah, they probably put him out, way out in front, kind of like they do at good popular restaurants. Like, oh, you're attractive, you get a seat by the window, so everybody thinks that we're really popular. Yeah,
it's really sad that attractive people even get preference at churches. Where don't attractive people get the fast ticket in life?
It's true. It's really not fair. They get everything, and then, I was always pissed because, I'm from Chicago, the suburbs. I grew up in Downers Grove and Lombard and all that, and my high school was a really exclusive kind of prep high school. And so everybody was really smart, but they'd also be good at sports. And I just remember being very resentful of everybody because I'm like, that's not how it's supposed to be. You get to be one or you get to be the other, and you fuckers have everything, and all I can do is make fart jokes in the back of the classroom and then get sent to the principal's office.
Yeah, but then a lot of those kids, they peak in high school, and you check up on them on Facebook now, and they're fat, bald, or ugly, or have 10 kids, and it kind of is more satisfying later in life.
Yeah, that is true. At 33, I've finally gotten used to the idea that people I know that have kids didn't screw up necessarily when they had kids, like they did it on purpose. But I still kind of laugh because I think, oh, you have a little baby. What's it like to never sleep? I get to do whatever I want on Friday nights and sleep till 2 in the afternoon, you dumbasses. Not that I'm resentful or anything.
What's it like to clean up your own poo plus one? Ha ha.
Exactly. The only poop I have to clean up is my dogs, and that's only sometimes if the neighbor's watching. Otherwise, I'm just like, it's fertilizer, and they'll be happy with it.
You're one of those.
It's a suburb. If somebody poops in my front yard, I'm fine with it. I poop in everyone else's yards too, me with or without the dogs. Everybody's happy. No one called the cops on me.
That's true. You can do whatever you want, especially if you're white.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. Like my people have fought for that white male privilege for centuries, and I'm not going to give it up. I think it's actually a bit insulting if I don't do this, because it's like all the minorities that don't get to do these things. I'm doing it on their behalf, if I'm being honest. I'm kind of a saint in that way.
Nobody talks about yellow privilege either. I feel like I should stand up for all of us who do also get the benefit of the doubt. I've never been searched for drugs, although I've sold drugs before. Nothing's ever, nobody ever, thinks I'm up to something. And that's just racist.
It's true, because I thought, I was thinking about, Asian stereotypes, because I was doing, my research on you, and some of it's just fucking hilarious. Like, the amount of weird hate that you get, and it always seems to be from Koreans. And I thought the only real stereotype that exists negatively is that Asian guys have small dicks. Everything else is always like, well, they're really hardworking, and they have nice families, and they respect everybody, and they're really smart and good at math, and they're going to take over the world. And I'm like, wait a second. Where's, the negative one? Black people are violent, and Mexicans are rapists, like Donald Trump says, but nobody has ever been like, hey, those Asians, they sure do cheat you at cards or something.
Oh, I can fill you in on more negative stereotypes. There's more than just that. Let me tell you that.
Actually, I wanted to ask. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to because I'm rude. I actually have this is a serious question. I know of, racist terms for all kinds of people: Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, blacks, Mexicans. I have no idea what the racial slur is for Koreans.
It's gook.
Oh, is that Oh, that's gooks. I thought that was also part of the Vietnam. Oh.
No, gook is it's like chink for Koreans, because one of two things. The word for Korean person in Korean is hanguk. So they either got it from that, or the word gook means soup in Korean. So during the Korean War, I think all the soldiers in the pit were eating soup really loudly, just slurping it. And so I think that's where it might have originated.
Oh, that's disappointing that
but it's not as harsh as chink. I mean, chink is worse than gook or Chinaman.
Well, Chinaman's just lazy. You're not even trying there. That'd be like, calling somebody an African man. You'd be like, that's barely even an insult. It's kind of just an accurate description.
Yeah, chink is definitely the worst one, probably.
Yeah. Also, why is there no Korean fast food?
You know what? They do have, Kalbi taco trucks in LA.
Oh.
It's just, I think Koreans need better customer service, because whenever you go to a Korean restaurant, they take forever. And I think it's part of the culture in that you should, sit down and spend hours eating your meal and talk and have, good conversation and laugh and catch up and everything. So the waiters really almost purposefully don't check up on you that often. But I drink a lot of water. That's part of how I stay skinny. I drink water between each bite that I eat. So, I always need my water filled. And I get so mad at these Korean wait staff. They're so freaking slow. So Korean fast food is almost an oxymoron, you're right. But there does exist some taco trucks that have like a hybrid of Mexican Korean food, because Mexicans can be hired by Koreans oftentimes.
Yeah, there's actually I've been told it's a semi-authentic Korean restaurant nearby me. I only go based on the girl I dated in college. She was actually from Hong Kong, and she'd been to Korea a lot. And because it was all Korean barbecue. And oh boy, that's the only time I've ever experienced anything I would think close to racism. Because every time I walked in there, those people, all of them, looked at me like, "What are you doing here? Like, this is not right. Why is the white guy sitting here?"
Oh, I know. I hate that shit. It's like, why don't you have better customer service? You can make more money. Don't you guys like money? Right? Like, why would you give a white customer a dirty look for eating with a Korean or Chinese girl? That's how racist they are, man.
Yeah, and it didn't help that the name of the restaurant was New Korean Garden, but for the longest time I misread it and thought it said North Korea Garden, so I thought maybe they're just like the bad Koreans.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know. It's, I'm not the smartest human being in the world, but you also run a gang, as is very well known, Ku and the Gang. And here in Chicago, gangs have declared open season on the cops. They're actually decided they're going to target the police on purpose. So is your gang going to participate in this race war?
Oh, I wasn't aware that's what was happening in Chicago. Dang.
Oh yeah, like all the gangs in Chicago said they were going to do it, and up in Milwaukee this whole past weekend, every black gang was purposely targeting white people. They would like stop cars and go, "Is it white? Yeah," and they just beat the shit out of them. It was really, really bad.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that they were doing that. Wow.
Yeah, we're all gonna. I mean, it's kind of weird because I'm like, if there's a race war, there's a lot more white people than there are black people, and white people have like militias and guns and all this stuff. So I feel like my side will probably win, but I don't really want to fight because I'm too stupid and I do too many drugs to have a gun. So this is probably not going to work out in my favor when it's all said and done.
I mean, so you do drugs and you never get caught. I mean, so what? You get beat up once in your life by a black gang member. It's no reparation. You know, you're going to get mad about that? You've never been thrown in jail. You've done illegal shit. Come on, it all evens out, man.
That's true. Which side do the Asians join in the race war?
You know what? It's split. There are progressive Asians who are for the Black Lives Matter side, like Jenny Yang. I follow her on Snapchat, and she's always at the Black Lives Matter protest. And then there's some who are like, you know, fuck that. I don't, you know, I'm not a criminal. I don't ever do anything, and they don't have the ability to empathize with, you know, the racism against black people in this country. So, I don't know, it's sort of torn, and Asians can be really apathetic to politics and, you know, shit that doesn't affect them. So it's sort of down the middle, I think.
We'll take it as long as we get the Chinese on our side. Then we get an extra $1 billion to help us out. Also, I have to ask, did you get a free Cadillac for your voiceover work?
A free Cadillac? No.
I saw that you did voiceover work for Cadillac, and I was like, what the hell?
What are you talking about? I never did voiceover work for Cadillac. Where'd you see that?
Some TV commercial, and like your voice was apparently the voiceover said in the credits, and it sounded kind of like you. It's some white chick driving, I think it's a Cadillac, one of those nice cars.
What? They credited me? I've never done a voiceover for Cadillac, and I smoke a lot of weed, and my memory does, you know, it's not always there for me, but I think I would have remembered a Cadillac paycheck. Shit.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
send me the link on that.
Yeah, I will, because like I was really confused. Like I say, I was going through and doing all my research, and also your website doesn't work.
Oh yeah, I know. I need to redo my website because it was like a really old website, so I took it down.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can find it. Although I did find my favorite thing, which was apparently the people from Opie and Jim now don't like you. There's some weird hate that you got for some of your appearances.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In my
yeah, well, I mean, what?
And I was going to say, my favorite of all of it, most of it was like, okay, it's typical, like, misogyny. Oh, the pretty girl shouldn't do these things. But my favorite ever was the person that wrote, I've been doing stand-up comedy for almost a year, and I'm seeing some patterns forming. And I'm sitting there going, wow, you're already like only 11 months ahead of where I'm at in life because I don't do stand-up comedy, but you already think you have opinions on someone who's been doing this for over a decade. What the hell? How much chutzpah do you have?
Oh, I know, right? And some of those guys, it's like, why are you focused on, it's like the guy swimming next to Michael Phelps, looking at Michael Phelps' lane. It's like, of course you're going to lose. You're paying attention too much to what other people are doing. Focus on your own shit. When I was 11, 12 months in comedy, I was just like listening to my sets on my voice recorder, watching my videotapes and making notes on how many laughs I get per minute. Like, what are these people doing worried about what I'm doing?
Yeah, it's just, and like some of them are like, Jim only wants it wrong because he wants to have sex with her. I'm like, Jim wants to have sex with everybody. Like, that's what he is. That's who he's been for his entire life. Like, that's not unique to you.
Right. Like, as if the only reason that I get invited to a radio show is because people want to have sex with me.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know if people realize how radio works, but radio, you don't actually see the person, so it doesn't always translate very well. Like, people can know what you look like. I think that you stand out. I mean, obviously you stand out because Asian comedians aren't that, frequent, but still, it's like, and then they all think that you're too dirty, and I'm like, what do you mean too dirty? If you listen to Doug Stanhope, my hero in life, that's dirty. This is nothing.
Oh, my God. I hate when I get the too dirty thing. It's like, if I looked like Jim Norton or Doug Stanhope, nobody would say that I'm too dirty. But it's my material coupled with the innocent way that I look. Like, we're used to girls who look like her being more demure, so this is just not clashing right in my brain. It's like, fuck you, learn to digest what I'm saying, man.
Yeah, like, I don't know if they think that, like, you're going to do a giant, a bit on, boy, isn't it weird how Pam makes sure that your pans don't stick a lot? I sure do have all that fun in the kitchen. Like, what the fuck?
I know. It's like, if I wasn't doing dirty material and I was doing super clean material, they would be like, oh, she's so lame. Like, she's just such a Hello Kitty comedian. And it's like, whatever. That's why you can't listen to your haters, because they just, infiltrate your mind with negativity that just doesn't even compute or make sense. And they're just, bottom line, they're just jealous or whatever.
Yeah, it's something that I've learned over the years, because I say only 33. I feel like I'm old now, because like, there's no more fun. Like, after 33, like, I reached the age of Jesus. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. I've got a few more months until, like, I'm officially past him, so I didn't accomplish anything. But nobody really celebrates you when you're in your 30s. It's like, the only milestones left for me are like, oh, you made it to an age where we thought you'd be dead by now. But, and I totally lost my train of thought there, and I wonder why. Because this week's podcast brought to you by Sativia, everybody. If you know what it is, you're already happy, and if you don't know, well, you should. Fuck, I don't know, I wrote down shit. Oh, did you know that there's a Wikipedia devoted to celebrity feats and that you have an entry?
Oh, somebody told me that.
Yeah, it's mostly.
But I don't really show my feet. I mean, I did show my feet in, like, one of my parody music videos, but I think that's it. I don't think there's much feet footage of me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, it's mostly just pictures of you. I'm like, if I was, like, into feet, this would be kind of disappointing. It'd be like, I'm really into girls who do anal sex and all you see is their boobs. It'd be like, okay, like, you're kind of there, but there's more that I'm really looking for.
Yeah, that's because I'm super protective of my feet, so I don't really I don't really let my feet out there.
I see that you're performing, you're on the road or whatever the term is, and you're headlining with Theo Von, is that right?
Oh, you know what? That was a post. He was headlining the week after I was headlining, so they just put both of our names on the marquee.
Oh, okay, because I was like, I think her name's ahead of his. I'm like, wow, that's kind of pretty cool, because he's...
Yeah, no.
Speaking of that, when are you, like, I know this is like the weirdest, I don't know if it's a weird question, I don't care. When are you going to have like a special on Netflix or something?
You know, I gotta work on that, man. I know when Ian Edwards was on my podcast, he was like, you gotta put out a special, I was like, okay, I will, stop bothering me.
And
so, yeah, I gotta get myself ready for that.
Yeah, and how do you, like, when you describe yourself to people who don't know you, and after, you know, I imagine your parents just pretend you don't exist because they'd be embarrassed, but do you consider yourself, because you've done TV, you've done reality shows, kind of, how would you define yourself? Are you a comedian? Are you an entertainer or an actress? Somebody that will do whatever it takes for money as long as it's funny? Like, what's your business?
I describe myself as a stand-up comedian, and at times in my career, people have hired me to be a talking head or part of an improv show, game show, or whatever, but the core, my passion and my love is stand-up comedy. So I started stand-up in Boston, and if I considered myself more of an entertainer or an actor type, I probably would have started in Los Angeles, but I really wanted my foundation to be stand-up. So that's where my heart is, and that's where, you know, that's what I love to do the most, and that's what I never want to stop doing is performing on stage doing stand-up.
All right, and this is really dumb, and this is maybe the most general question in the history of the world, but I've always been kind of curious as to what it means. How do you write a joke? Do you physically write down the whole joke on a notebook? Do you write down just the punchline, how you're going to get there? Like, I imagine everybody's different, but how do you write a joke?
You know what? A lot of my material comes from, I need to interact with people in order for me. I can't just, like, sit in a blank room in a desk and be like, I'm going to write 10 jokes today. I mean, I could do that sometimes if I'm, like, reading a newspaper or watching the news and, you know, something comes to my head. But for me, a lot of it is interacting with people, and that's why, like, almost the ideal situation for me to write jokes is to go on a million first dates, because you're describing yourself to a person who's never met you, and it's similar to a comedy show in that people in the audience, they're all strangers. They don't know you, and you're just presenting yourself to them. And I always, you know, you sort of give, it's like an interview, like a first date, and you sort of give your whole spiel like, oh, this is me, and you're introducing yourself, but, you know, you don't deliver it the same way every single time, right? When you're on a date with a guy, I'm like, you know, and so I reword it differently every time I, you know, sit down on a date with a guy. And so I've even pulled out my notebook on a date. They're like, oh, that was really funny. I have to write that down. And I'll literally just make him sit there while I write out the whole phrase because the wording was really important. So I do like to write out the whole sentence or the whole joke verbatim.
You know, that's actually, it's really, I think it's a fantastic analogy, because one of the things because I listen to obviously a lot of podcasts, because everybody shockingly, yes, this is not my full-time job, is doing podcasts every once in a while. So when I sit in my office downtown, or in the city as normal people say, I guess, I'm always hearing, and I kind of get the impression that the comedian and the audience relationship, it's symbiotic, but it's also contentious. Like, if you're a musician, people don't, I think nobody goes to an orchestra or whatever and thinks, ha, I can play the oboe just as good as that person does. But everybody seems to think they're funny. And so when the comedian first shows up, there's almost like this pull back from the crowd of like, all right, you have to prove yourself to me before I give you that laugh. Meanwhile, you may have had like the best jokes right away, but these fuckers are all sitting there going, I don't know. I could say that. And in reality, if they ever tried it, they'd stand up there and just probably shit their pants.
Yeah, no, that is very true. Like, the respect that we get from audiences at comedy shows is just so low compared to all other, going to an orchestra, a play. People know not to talk at a play or at a opera, but, like, people just don't know that. And also you just slide with alcohol, and so, that mixed with a contentious crowd is a formula for a lot of hecklers to butt in and try to get a word in. And
kind of along those lines, actually, okay, it'll get back to along those lines, but I had to ask because and I know this will be shocking that a 33-year-old white dude whose hobbies include watching professional fighting and reading comic books never saw Girl Code on MTV. So what the hell was Girl Code exactly?
Oh, Girl Code was like this talking head show where they combine a bunch of our heads talking with cartoons, with whatever we were saying. So it's basically for teeny boppers and college students, and it's like a VH1 Best Week Ever, but a little more jazzed up, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and okay, that makes sense. And I actually think that you probably have a big advantage, I would think, compared to a lot of women, in that when I heard, like, what your age is, I was like, really? Because you look much younger. And this is something that I think, if people don't know, Asian women have a very odd aging cycle. They will look very, very young for a long time, and then it seems like somewhere around, like, 42, overnight they just get really old. And I don't know what it is, but a 36-year-old or a 39-year-old Asian woman can look just like a 20-year-old, and then they become 70 overnight. I don't know, maybe I'm nuts, but having had yellow fever in my life, that seems to be a pattern I've noticed.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that I still get carded, and I bought kombucha at Whole Foods the other day, and they carded me, and I'm like, you know what, I left my ID in my other purse. And then she turned around and asked this other cashier, like, yo, she forgot her ID, and he goes, sorry, you need your ID after taking a look at me. I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, but that makes me feel good that people think that I look under 21.
Yeah,
I definitely can get away with a lot more.
Yeah, they stopped carding me at the Jewel, and it wasn't because I necessarily look old. Like, if I shave, I look really, really young. If I don't shave, I think I look like an adult. But I was just buying so much alcohol after a while that they didn't even bother. Like, yeah, we know who you are, you alcoholic. Just take your bottle of plastic jug vodka and get out of here, you pathetic old man.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why white girls hate on Asian girls, is that we just, white girls, they look their age or even older because they bask in the sun and they go tanning and all that shit.
Yeah, that's true. Also, okay, and I told everybody it would circle back. You did Last Comic Standing. You were in that reality show like House and all that shit. I'm really curious about like how something like that works as far as like, obviously they have cameras everywhere, but when you got to take a shit, I presume they don't follow you in there. But do they like knock on the door if you're in there for too long, wondering like, are you okay? Or we need to film still. You've been in there for 45 minutes.
No, I mean, the thing is the cameras weren't on. The cameras weren't on. The cameras weren't on like all the time. Like you would have breaks where like they would shoot for like 8 hours a day or something, but not. You know what I mean? It wasn't like Big Brother where it's on 24 hours a day where they catch everything you do. So there were times when the cameras were off, and I remember Jeff Dye getting mad at me because I played it up for the cameras when the cameras were on, And then when the cameras were off, I sort of turned off and just became, like, more of a regular person. Like, okay, I don't have to, like, be such a funny person right now. And he was like, hey, you're acting different. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, you idiot. I'm like, it's called turning it on for the cameras. And he was like, he thought he was, like, calling me out. And I was like, shut up. Like, this is show business, you idiot.
Oh, fantastic. My goodness. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why anybody would give a shit. By the way, I did just email you the link to apparently you doing work for Cadillac, so maybe that'll get you a date with Tiger Woods. What's your favorite Olympic sport to keep things topical? Don't say ping pong.
Oh, my God. No. I love gymnastics. I love ice skating. I love swimming, the diving competition. I've been watching a lot of it. So I think Simone Biles has been, who's her name? Gabrielle Douglas?
Yeah.
From the last Olympics. She must be just so bummed because everybody's like, Simone Biles is defeating gravity and she's just the best gymnast we've ever seen, and everybody was in love with Gabrielle, like, last Olympics, and I feel bad for her. Like, she just stole that spotlight and then some. So
it's really weird.
I like watching.
I was going to say, it's weird when I see girls that I think are like 16 years old, and they talk about they're the greatest ever at doing something, and I'm like, you're 16, and you're like, you can't even drive a car, and yet you've peaked. And they basically peaked for their entire life. Like, they only go downhill.
You know what I think is so bad about the Olympics this year is that now when the Olympians go back to their country, the whole world is going to get infected with Zika. And, you know, like, the Olympics are a place where everybody is having sex with each other. And so you know Zika is getting spread like wildfire in the Olympic Village. And then it's almost so irresponsible that they even continued with the Olympics and they didn't care about the health of the entire state of the world.
Yeah, it's like somebody watched the movie Outbreak and thought, hey, let's try to see if we can make that happen in real life. That is what the scary thing is, and you can't control if a mosquito comes near you. You never even see or feel a mosquito come near you and bite you. I mean, it's one thing to be like, okay, stay away from monkeys with Ebola and don't have sex with monkeys, but freaking mosquitoes, this is like end of the world doom shit right here, man. Yeah, thankfully as a guy, I don't know what it does to me. I don't think it affects me. I mean, I don't think I get itchy or anything.
No, but that's the problem, is that guys think it doesn't affect them because you're not going to get pregnant, but the Zika virus can live in your sperm for 6 months. You didn't put bug spray on. You didn't protect yourself. You went outside irresponsibly. So then you get the Zika, and then you have sex with a girl. She swallows your cum, and she gets Zika. And she gets pregnant, and bam, there comes the Zika baby. So everybody has to be worried about Zika.
You realize that in your scenario, the woman swallowed the cum and somehow got pregnant.
Yeah, that's why I don't swallow. You can still get pregnant. There's a 1% chance of getting pregnant through swallowing.
No, there's not. Is there? Like, I went to Catholic school. I must have missed all this because they didn't teach us about proper sex ed.
Yeah, Catholics don't know anything about sex safety.
No, but we know how to make sure an old man is pleasured. Let me tell you something.
Well, that's an area where good-looking people get the benefit of the doubt. It's like the average-looking altar boys, they never get felt up. How are they going to feel?
they're kind of left out. Like, what was wrong with me? The John over there, he was getting touched all the time. I must not have been a very attractive kid. Then they grow up and sure, they weren't molested, but they also go through life thinking, God, I wasn't even good enough for a pedophile. How awful am I?
Exactly. It's like you would think that pedophiles would like every kid, but they don't. They discriminate so much, and that hurts a lot of people's feelings and self-esteem.
It sounds like your feelings have been hurt because somebody didn't molest you.
Yeah, you got me. You know me too well, man.
Yeah, sure. One of the things you do on your podcast, which is actually really good, and the other week you asked people, do you like the first half or the second half better? The second half is, for everybody that doesn't know, you just plug dates and thank people while you masturbate a lot. And that's where I think everybody goes, I got to listen to that. But I will say the first half is generally more my favorite because if you're at work and maybe your headphones accidentally pop out of the computer and the speakers happen and everybody hears all this moaning and you're looking at you and you're like, I have no excuse for what's happening right now, people. It's not porn. Trust me. It's a comedian. It's supposed to be funny. And then you have to go talk to HR and explain yourself to everyone. But you are...
I wonder how many people have gotten fired from their job.
Oh, I got a talking to at least. But you now are taking donations from people, and some of it's going towards, to try to pay for therapy. And I don't have a lot of causes in life because as a white man, the world works for me, so I don't have to worry about causes. But one thing I'm incredibly passionate about is I think that people need to have a lot more of an open and frank discussion about mental health, about going to therapy and not being ashamed of needing, whether it's Zoloft or Xanax or Lexapro, or my favorite name is Abilify, just because somebody came up with that one. Like, it'll make you better. Why? It abilifies things. So, and you go to therapy and you've been talking more about that lately. I don't know how much you want to go into it now, but how has therapy been working for you?
Well, I love going to therapy. I used to be so afraid of therapy because I was like, somebody's going to know all my secrets. And I was just so terrified because it was something that Asians don't do. I never saw my parents go see a therapist. I never heard of an Asian psychologist. They're all Jewish, right? So it was just a world that was so far away, and I always thought therapists are for rich white people until I started listening to Mark Maron's podcast, and I saw what a great benefit therapy is for people and how so many comedians and actors have benefited so much from sort of pouring out their problems to a therapist. And now it just helps me so much because you don't put a strain on your friends. You don't have to listen back to your friends' problems after you tell them your problems. It helps you get in touch with the root of your problems. So things have been going really well, and I'm just happy that people like you are so supportive to donate to my therapy orgasm fund.
Well, I had it's not the first and won't be the last time I've paid to talk to an Asian woman, let me tell you. Although I do think I find it odd that you went through life thinking that therapy was for rich white people and Jews, and yet it was Mark Maron of all people that made you think, well, I can do therapy because he's, a rich white Jew.
Well, he's not that rich.
He's rich.
Is he?
I don't know. He's richer than I am. So if you're richer than me, I assume he's richer than me. Like, I sleep on a cot with 2 dogs in an unfinished basement. So I presume he does. But he's been on television. If you've been on TV, you must be rich. That's like the rule in the world.
No, but that's a big misnomer. It's a big myth that if you're on TV, you're rich, because nowadays there's a million TV channels and TV networks have less money than ever before. The budgets are so much smaller. It's not like it used to be back in the day. Like, yeah, he has his show on IFC and he has his podcast, and I know he must make good money with his podcast, but the way he talks, he doesn't ever really describe himself as rich or anything like that. You know, he refers to himself in a very humble manner, like when you listen to the kind of car he drives, or like, oh, it's just my garage. It's just my garage. So I feel like, you know, I'm sure he's doing fine, but...
Yeah, and now we're getting into a weird topic where we talk about somebody's finances and everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Talk more about the masturbating. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
So, how did that start anyways? Were you just like one day sitting the ground going, I gotta fucking bang out 20 more minutes. This'll work. Let's give it a shot.
You know what happened? I started my podcast last November, and I was listening. I looked up like the top 5 podcasts on the iTunes charts to sort of get a feel for what's out there and, you know, what does well and everything. So I was listening to the Guys We Fucked podcast, and their podcast is so sex positive and feminist and rah-rah, go feminism, and, you know, tackling issues like rape and molestation and shit, like in a very approachable manner with a great sense of humor, right? Mm-hmm. And once I heard their podcast and I listened to a few episodes, I felt really, really empowered. And I've always had this chronic masturbation problem since I was 17. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what? There is so much that is unknown about female sexuality that is only coming out now, and that we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg now. Like, people don't know shit about it. Like, there wasn't any emphasis. The emphasis is always on the guy coming and the ejaculation of the penis and the balls, and nothing's ever placed on anything on the female pleasure. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to shove my orgasm down my listeners' throats through their headphones. So I just decided to start it on the 4th episode that I posted, and I've just been doing it ever since, and it's been really fun, and it's been eye-opening for a lot of people, because there is this myth that the female orgasm doesn't even exist, or people even email me and say, you sound fake, like, they just all sound the same. I'm like, well, what did you think a real orgasm was going to sound like over and over and over again?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like my orgasms sound different. I presume I pretty much make the same awful-looking face and freak people out.
Yeah, I mean, most of our orgasms probably do sound similar within a range. But that's why I started taking donations, because now I have a person to dedicate my orgasm to. So now you'll hear your name on there the next episode.
Well, I want you to dedicate it to my website. I think it'd be way funnier. Be like, oh, halfguarded.com. You're so sexy. As opposed to, oh, Mike, just because, free publicity. And although I think...
Okay, what's your website?
Halfguarded.com. I'll email it.
I'll plug your website.
But, I think the last one was like Pete or somebody has like 100 of them coming. Pardon the pun?
Yeah, Scott has 100 of them that I owe him.
And it's actually really, I mean, it is kind of sexual, but it's also, I think, really funny, because I think it does a great job of both exposing people to the idea of, hey, women have orgasms, and pity you men that don't know this. I don't really know what you're doing. Humble brag. But also, like, it's really funny because you'll just suddenly stop. You'll be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be at the Laugh Factory this Thursday. Hey, isn't Bert Kreischer a really nice guy? I support hashtag Tom is fat. And then you go right back into it. Like, it's this total disconnect. It's like, this is exactly how I have sex. It's like the moment sex is over, it's like, okay, can I watch baseball now? I got to cuddle for 5 minutes. Fine, but I just want to watch baseball instead. Sorry.
Yeah, you know what? In a way, I'm almost taking the sexiness out of it, because there's plenty of porn videos out there. If you want to watch a girl make herself come, you can do that, okay? But for me, it's just like, yeah, I have this sort of addiction or problem or whatever, and it's just, I just deal with it matter-of-factly. Like, yeah, I can make myself come, and it's over in 10 seconds, and now let's get down to business. Let's do announcements.
No, it's great because, and it's something that, like, I don't know if I've struggled with, but, like, there's times when, like, you know, especially if you've been dating somebody for a while or whatever, like, after a while you're just like, I'm only having sex just because, like, this is utilitarian. I have a physical thing I need to deal with, and I don't really want to, it's kind of icky and messy, and there's a lot of, like, fluids involved, and couldn't I just go jerk off in the bathroom and then we go eat dinner?
Yes, exactly. I am showing the utilitarian side of orgasming. It's not like I'm having sex with somebody and recording it. It's like I have this urge. I am in my, you know, childbearing years where nature is mandating that I feel these urges so that I procreate and reproduce babies. But instead of reproducing babies, I'm recording my orgasms for the auditory pleasure of my listeners. So I'm also very sexually liberated, and I know there's a lot of people out there who have a hard time having a conversation about sex with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and it's uncomfortable. But for me, I was raised in such a religious, restrictive environment that I just broke free, and this is my way of expressing myself, of showing that I'm not held down by the religious restrictions that were placed on me since I was born. And if I wasn't raised that way, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be doing this on a public platform such as a podcast. But because I was, I just have a need, I just feel the need to sort of break out and show the world, look at me, I can come 100 times in one day.
Wait, what is the record in a day? Wasn't it in the 20s or something?
Well, it was in the 30s. It was like 36, I think. But I'm gonna have to surpass that with these donations that are rolling in.
Although I think you've actually kind of undermined your entire thesis there, because I see this as a gift from God, and therefore Jesus did his work because the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Oh, is that what you think?
No, not at all. I don't think. I'm pretty sure that you have a really good joke about, like, your aunt, your dead relatives watching, and, like, I remember thinking that, like, after my dad died, I'm like, Dad's probably gonna watch now, but I'm like, I would really hope that he would, like, turn away, because there's a lot of things I do, like, is he watching me take his shit? Like, that's weird. He wouldn't watch me do this if he was alive. Why would he watch me do it now?
I had that same feeling when I saw the movie Ghost for the first time. I was so freaked out. I was like, oh, everybody can see me do everything. And I just got really embarrassed, but it just felt so good to just keep coming that I was like, I cannot stop. I'm like, you know what? They can probably see everybody masturbate. I don't give a shit. I'm going to keep masturbating. I can't stop. It's just so good, especially once you figure out how to do it. Like, I was 17 when I first started, and it's like an explosion happens, isn't it, when you first learn?
17, fuck, I was like 12. But
Are you serious? Wow.
Well, I'm a dude, and the old school 14.4 modem with AOL, and I would have to sit there and wait for the picture to load, and it was kind of like a striptease, because you wouldn't know what you're getting. It would just be one line after another. You'd be like, okay, it's a chick. Oh, there's a boob. There's the nipple. And it was kind of like, and then I'm like, well, what do I do with this funny feeling in my pants, so to speak? Aha, they're doing it there. I wonder what happens. And then,
yeah, exactly. It's so much easier for you guys.
Yeah, and then 3 days later, I had wrote myself raw. I'm like, I got to do something else. How do they keep doing this?
I'm hoping that with me doing what I'm doing on my podcast, it can help girls start masturbating at a younger age, because there are girls late into their 20s. They still don't know how to make themselves come. So I'm hoping I'm providing some motivation for them lazy girls.
And you know what? It's actually a really good thing from a guy's perspective, because if a woman knows what makes her come, that helps me as a guy, because otherwise, like, I'm just down there and I'm like, okay, like, you read something like, oh, you're supposed to do the alphabet or whatever. And then I kind of listen, but I'm like, I have no problem. Just please tell me what to do. I don't want to be down here for 45 minutes. I'm really tired and my neck hurts. If you would just have the courage to say a little to the left and up a little bit, okay, thanks, that would be way better for everybody involved.
Yeah, it's like buying a used car. Some of these cars, you try to start them, and you're like, man, what's wrong with this car, man? And then you look under the hood, and you're just like, I can't freaking figure it out. It's like a maze down here. But then you get those used cars that are like, vroom, vroom, like, oh, man, this one just goes all by itself. That's a nice car, man. I'm just saying, man, I got a nice car.
I had like this really good, like, semi-serious question. I guess I have to ask it, but I almost want to end on you describing your vagina as a used car.
Yeah, my vagina is like a used car, except it's like the Cadillac of used cars. Oh, shit, callback.
Oh, there's a callback. Okay, one of the things, because we're coming up on an hour and you should get going and not have to deal with me anymore. Comedians, as a general rule, are not normal human beings. If they're normal human beings, they would be accountants or something, especially as an Asian. But also, that weirdness is what kind of makes you funny, but it can therefore create unhappiness and the need for therapy. Would you give up your ability to be incredibly funny and do what you do if you knew you could achieve that weird happiness that I see normal people have?
Yes, because the normal people, they don't have the pain that we have, you know, that makes us funny. So if I could trade it in, like, it would be such a easier life. You know, how many years of below poverty level I was living in New York that, you know, because I'm like, I'm going to chase this dream of mine. It's a hard life. You know, it's hard, and you know, things don't just come easy, and it takes a lot of work and to get to a certain level where you're even living like one of your counterparts were living in their 20s. You know, so yeah, I mean, it would be so much easier if I could just be a normal person and just make a regular salary and have a 401k and everything. But yeah, definitely sounds better.
And three more things. Q101, B96, or 1035?
What?
Q101, B96, or 103.5? What did you listen to?
Oh, I would do 104.3, the oldies.
With Dick Biondi?
Yes, Dick Biondi, forgotten the oldies.
And did you know that Navy Pier...
Oh, 104.3. What?
Oh, no, actually, I was going to say, that's kind of what I listened to a long time growing up, because I never was allowed to touch the radios, and that's just what my parents listened to. So I kind of grew up listening to, like, the Monkees and stuff. And then one day people are like, hey, do you hear about Nirvana? I'm like, no, I was listening to Dave Clark 5. What's Nirvana like?
Oh, I know. All the kids in my high school had Nirvana shirts, and I never got into Nirvana. But yeah, oldies were my go-to jam, man. I met Dick Biondi in a mattress store in a suburb in Chicago.
Which suburb and which mattress store?
Like, he was like, I forgot which mattress store and which suburb, but I remember I took a picture with him, and he was the first celebrity that I ever met, and I was like screaming. I was like so excited. You would think I was like meeting the Beach Boys or something.
The Beach Boys. Of course it's the Beach Boys. And finally, in a joke that, not a joke, a very serious question that basically nobody listening will know. If I was to say the phrase, Eagle Man, do you know what Eagle Man is?
No, what is Eagle Man?
Oh, you don't remember the old commercials that they have where the guy was a used car salesman? And he'd go, I've got something for you. And he would like crap out an egg on top of a used car. And it was like, Eagle Man gave us a deal.
Oh, yeah. You know what sticks out of my head more are the 1-800-EMPIRE commercials.
Oh, damn it. I was going to close with if I say 1-800-588-2300, do you know what comes next?
Empire.
Oh, fucking A. I feel so happy now. All right. Do your plugs. Plug away and all of that stuff, and then I'll write it down later, obviously. But everybody should plug themselves.
Okay. September 15th to the 18th, I'll be at Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, Oregon. Listen to my podcast, Ku and the Gang. Follow me on Twitter at Esther Ku. Thank you, Michael Coughlin, for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for remembering my entire name the whole time. You probably have the email open or something like that. But thank you for being here on the show. It was fantastic. I got to hear the laugh, and that made me happy. Everybody, if you don't follow Ms. Ku, because Esther is a book in the Bible that you probably don't read because no one ever did, you're missing out because she's fantastic. And I don't put my stamp of approval on just anybody, just the people that appear on this podcast. So we will talk to you guys later. And to quote the great Bill Burr, go fuck yourself.